It's Sunday, the 21st of January, 2024. I hope you're having a lovely weekend. Unscheduled video, because this is burning such a deep hole in my head. I just think it's so important to get out there. And if you hear what I'm trying to say in this video, please share it with anyone you know, whether they're buying or selling or both, or if they're an agent. Because what I'm trying to do helps everyone. Honestly, no matter what you think it does, it helps everyone who needs to move house, because what I'm trying to do is to help there be more transactions. I'm not on the buyer side. I'm not on the seller side. I don't want house prices to fall. I don't want house prices to rise. I just want people to be able to move house so that everyone can move on with their lives. And so the industry that I have served for 20 years can also make its fees from helping people move, because falling transaction volumes hurts everybody, including agents. Rising transaction volumes helps everybody. The more people moving house, the easier it becomes to move house, and the more transactions agents have got to support their business. I've had a lot of new followers this week. Welcome to all of you, and I'm delighted to have you here. Welcome back to all my existing followers. And I just need to let me point out with you what I mean by the fact that I'm failing. Because I am failing to communicate the truth of what's happening in the market. I did a survey on my X account, and these are the results. I asked, since you've been following me, what has been your general position regarding my view on the housing market? And my view on the housing market since mid-2022 has been that there are going to be substantial house price falls over 3 years. Not a crash, but a 3-year house price slide that will not be visible as it happens and will be severely late in its reporting. Now, what I didn't know then, and what I do know now, is that the distortion in transaction volumes at the lower end has created a misleading failure in the average transaction value, as reported by house price indices, to come down. And I have been trying to communicate to people that house prices have fallen much further than the average transaction value indicates, and that the average transaction value reported by all the indices is not the same as house prices. I've done videos that show that even when the average transaction value is rising, house prices can be falling. I've shown the mathematical proof. I did a spreadsheet and shared it with everybody. But nevertheless, I am failing. Look at this, right? 64% have always agreed with my position. That's great. Wonderful. Thank you. 12% have always disagreed with my position. That's great. Wonderful. Thank you. But of the people who have changed their mind watching my channel, 4 times more of you started out agreeing with me and then changed your mind and stopped agreeing with me and started believing house price media reporting. And only 1/5 of that number, or 1/4 of that number, started out disagreeing with me, but then allowed me, or you let yourself have your mind changed partly by what I'm saying. So the reason I'm saying I'm failing here is because 4 times more of you, of all of you who've changed your mind, 4 times more are now agreeing with the mainstream narrative on house prices and what the house price indices is saying, than have gone the other way and gone, actually, Charlie's opened my eyes, and I'm now not believing the mainstream guff. So this is why I'm failing. This is why I'm worried. I'm seriously worried for the housing market this year. Now, I just want to play you 60 seconds of a video that if you haven't watched, please go and watch it, by Sasha Yanshin. I've linked to his video in the notes below this. But just watch this 60 seconds, please, because he put this video out yesterday or the day before, and it reaffirms what I've been saying, but from a slightly different point of view. Just checking it's on the screen here. Right. So this is Sasha Yanshin, his video 2 days ago called House Prices Have Started Crashing. I think they started a long time ago, but listen to this anyway.
When times get tough, like what we've been going through recently, the poorest get hit disproportionately. So they definitely can't go and afford to buy a house. So the total number of house sales drops by 20%. But that 20% is going to be very heavily skewed towards the cheapest houses. If you're rich, you have loads of assets, you have investments, whatever, the fact that pasta now costs twice as much probably doesn't affect your ability to buy a house. So what happens is that the cheaper end of houses are not selling. So when you look at the total spectrum, it is the cheapest ones that are not selling, and that means that the average of the houses that do sell kind of goes up, or at least counters the drops in house prices. The reality is that house prices are down a whole lot more than 2% if you normalize for the distribution of the average house price. But nobody publishes the data, so there's no way for me to really prove this. But I can show you some other data that looks, well, a lot worse. Here is the latest FCA mortgage lending statistics, and check out these 2 bullet points here. The value of gross mortgage advances increased by 18.6% from the previous quarter, blah, 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 not important, but remained 27.6% lower than a year earlier. So new mortgages have dropped by 27.6% in this latest data. But even worse is the next point. The value of new mortgage commitments, that's lending agreed to be advanced in the coming months, was 41.4% lower than a year earlier. So the mortgages that have already been agreed but haven't gone through yet, have not yet completed, are down a whole lot more, over 40%. So we already know that this is coming. We already
Okay, so I urge you to watch that whole video because he goes through actual official figures, government figures, and graphs, and shows and explains in detail. But he makes the point there that the land registry said national house price averages have come down 2% when they put their forecast out, their index out earlier this week. But if you looked at it, Scotland and Northern Ireland are going up, England and Wales going down, London down 6% according to the land registry average. But all of those in the falling figures, I believe, are far worse than they said, for reasons that he just explained as well. Now, what's the industry saying? So what was the industry's reaction, the estate agency industry's reaction to the land registry house price falling figures? Now, what I'm about to show you is what a lot of smaller agents look to for guidance on what they should be saying to their clients about what's happening in the market. So this is an estate agency industry publication that is arguably read by more estate agents than anything else, and therefore has a large amount of influence. And it looks to highly respected individual figures in the industry. And I want to show you this because I want you to understand that a lot of agents, when they're talking the market up, they actually believe it because they've got it from these people. But just before I show you this, I personally know more than half of the people on this list. And I know that they are employed by companies who sell things to estate agents. And therefore, they are not allowed to say things that their target customers or their existing customers won't like. Bear that in mind, right? These are commentators from large estate agency industry suppliers selling stuff to agents. Some, not all of them, some of them are estate agents. Okay. And then we've also got Knight Frank in there. And again, a lot of agents look up to Knight Frank for market commentary. Now, Knight Frank have been flip-flopping all over the place. It's going to go down 4%. No, it's going to go up 3%. All because of the misplaced view that interest rates are going to fall. But let's just have a quick look, a very quick glance at a couple of these comments. And I'm not going to name the names. There's no point in naming the names here, but just see what they're saying. So a fall of around 2% in the space of 12 months is modest considering the scale of the challenges. So in other words, that's they haven't fallen very much. And it just basically goes on to talk about how everything's enduring and it's holding up. We saw a slight increase in inflation today. It's still been more than half since a year earlier, so everything's fine. Lenders are becoming more competitive with their offers. So they're not saying everything's great, but then they're definitely glossing over how bad it is. Many forecasters have made positive predictions for house prices in 2024, underlining the property market's resilience. What resilience? I mean, again, this is supporting what the house price industry say, which is house prices haven't fallen. Halifax has said they're going up recently. And look how resilient it is. Stable, or better yet, falling interest rates will help draw greater numbers of buyers to the property market. Not on their own, they won't. And again, there's this clinging to the hope that interest rates are going to fall. The property market is getting busier. It always gets a bit busier at this time of year. More sellers marketing their homes. Again, there's another as an agent there, and then there's another agent. Here's Tom Frank. UK house prices declines are bottoming out, he says. Knight Frank says. I suspect that is going to come back to haunt him, because that is not the case, right? So I'm going to come on now with some relief to Zoopla and what they said this week, because I'm genuinely grateful to Richard Donnell, who is the executive director of research at Zoopla, who put out a blog post this week called "Will House Prices Rise in 2024? Key Takeaways." And Richard, if you see this, thank you. Thank you for setting yourself apart from all of the baseless optimism and hope, and actually putting it, without saying everything's doom and gloom, you're putting out the most realistic commentary I've seen on the housing market. Listen, we are still locked in a buyer's market. So it's unlikely we'll see prices rise in 2024 at a national level. House price falls are modest in 2023. Well, no, I don't agree with him. I think they're more. But so I don't agree with that point. Buyers remain price sensitive, and 45% of those with mortgages are yet to remortgage onto higher rates. This is a very salient point that none of the others talk about. Inflation appears sticky, meaning there is only so far mortgage rates are likely to fall. So again, he's not saying what the others are saying, which is, oh, mortgage rates are definitely going to fall. They're going to keep falling. He's not saying that. So it's good. The average UK seller is having to accept offers and is getting around 95% of asking prices. Sellers must remain realistic on pricing. Again, I think it's actually, the numbers are much bigger than that in terms of the price falls, but it's good to see him there. And he goes on, I think I've linked to this below. Go on and read this, because this is much more realistic. Return of pent-up demand. Yeah, I consider there's been a bit of, wouldn't say they've jumped out of the blocks, but there's been an increase in demand. However, demand levels are still more than a third lower than they were at the start of the hotter years. Plenty of choice will keep price rises in check. Number of homes for sale per agent per quarter, that graph is. More supply and weaker demand led to drawn-out repricing of homes in 2023, accelerated in the second half. Okay, half of homeowners with mortgages still need to move on to higher rates. Please have a read of that. But again, I'm not saying that he's being as realistic as I am. I don't think he is. I still think he's but it's much more realistic. So what else came out this week? This one here. This is the Bank of England putting up their mortgage borrowing. And this is mortgage losses, mortgage defaults increasing. And if you look at this, you'll see that it's on the way up. And there are likely to be more mortgage defaults this year. It's likely to go up. Okay. So what do you think that's going to do to the house prices and the housing market? And then we've got this very, very worrying thing. I did a survey asking people on X, from the day you decide to sell your home, the day you decide to sell, not the day it goes on the market, what's your expectation of how long it will take until you complete on the sale and hand the keys over to the new owners? And 50% of the respondents to that think it's going to be less than 6 months. I'm afraid, guys, you're in absolute cloud cuckoo land if that's your expectation of how long it's going to take. 6 months from, we're just thinking about selling now. Let's decide to sell our house. Let's go and find an agent. Let's put it on the market. Let's get buyers around. Let's get offers in. Let's get viewings. Let's get offers. Let's get an offer accepted. Then we'll start the 5-month process that it takes on average from having your offer accepted to getting completion. 6 to 12 months is realistic right now. 12 to 18 months, 7% of you are saying, is actually what I'd be setting expectations. Right now, on average, unless you're going to come to the market with a really keen price and a shit-hot agent and a shit-hot conveyancer and find an instantly proceedable buyer, if that's you as a seller, then you might get it done in less than 6 months. Otherwise, it's going to be 6 to 12 months and more for most people. And this is what worries me. And the reason I'm really worried about this particular thing is because of how many sellers are going to miss the market as it falls more sharply this year. And more than half of you are thinking, oh, 6 months. Fantasyland. Absolute Fantasyland. And then yesterday, we have this utter fuckery from the government. Sunak considers radical plan for 99% mortgages. And it's one of those bullshit teasers. They're testing the market. Actually, The Independent is the only paper I've seen that's reported on this. It's a drip. It's let's see what the reaction is to this. I did a poll on Twitter, a straw poll of what first-time buyers thought of that. And thankfully, 84% of you went, no, it's an idiotic idea. I mean, the concept of a 1% deposit mortgage in this falling marketplace. Now, if they were to bring it in hypothetically, which they'd have to get elected first, I think. I mean, unless they actually decided to bring it in immediately in March to try and win more voters over, which I wouldn't put past them because they're desperate. But otherwise, even if that happened, it's not going to change the 2024 housing market. But it would, if they brought in 1% deposit mortgages for all first-time buyers in March, in 2 months' time, that would cause me to change my expectations on how far house prices will fall. I don't think they're going to do it. Even if they did it after an election, it's not going to change what happens in 2024. There's too much momentum downwards. So, guys, this is why I'm going to be... I think managing sellers' expectations on price and transaction time is critical to trying to maintain transactions and liquidity in the housing market. It's critical to estate agents as much as anybody else. It's critical for sellers that have got to sell this year. And it's critical for sellers who actually want to achieve a sale because buyers are offering what they can. Now, there's been massive more negative news on jobs this week. Google laying people off. Tata Steel in Wales announcing 3,000 layoffs. There's just been more and more negative news. Amazon laying people off. There is not that I'm aware of, there is no positive economic news coming out at all. It's all negative for jobs. It's all going to accelerate the downward falls. On top of which, the land registry pricing is telling us what was happening at the front line of deals being agreed back in June last year. We have not yet seen the true extent of price falls in the end of 2023. And we're only going to begin to see them coming soon. So that's why I'm going to be really putting emphasis on videos to help sellers. So whatever you think about prices, being contract ready is going to be the number one thing you can do as a seller to improve your chances of a quicker sale at a better price. Being contract ready. Why? If you're going to sell, you have to become contract ready anyway. Being contract ready at the start basically will take roughly 2 months off your transaction time. If you need to get sold, given how long transactions are taking now, that's a no-brainer. I'm doing a video with the conveyancer, Simon David, the boss of the conveyancing firm that I work with, Simon David, and the property search pack provider I work with, Daniel Hamilton Charlton. Tomorrow evening at 8 p.m, we're going to be doing a live seller Q&A. And on Wednesday, I'm going to be doing another live stream with an agent, a guest agent, Wednesday, 6:30. By the way, if you want to watch tomorrow evening's Monday's seller live stream, I've linked to it below because it's already set up and scheduled, so you can click to watch it and be reminded to watch it. If you're watching this after Monday evening, the link to watch that is below. Wednesday evening, live Q&A with an estate agent at 6:30 Wednesday evening. Otherwise, guys, I'm tantalizingly close to launching a beta version of the open source house price index. We just want to make sure that we've got the address input absolutely super easy, so that we can start to hopefully counteract some of the delay in house price reporting, to give everyone that just needs to move, whether you're buying or selling or both or an agent, better transparency of what's actually happening. So it's an exchange price index. We're also going to be doing rental prices too, to help everyone who needs to move, buying or renting, to not understand what actual prices are doing right now. Because I've got friends who put the house on the market to rent recently, who went on with an agent and said to the agent, please put on a realistic price, I need to rent it quickly. The agent got the price wrong by over 30%. They still haven't let the home several months later. Even though they've dropped the price drastically. And so the delay in house price reporting is a massive issue. Transparency will massively reduce that problem. And it's the only thing that is within our power to change, given the utter clusterfuck at government level. Government, media, and lending is not helping people who need to move house right now. Right, it's Sunday. I shouldn't be here anyway. See you tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for the live stream. Thank you all very much for your support of this channel. And I'll see you in the next one, guys.